How do you make players angry? When starting this game, I expected some things to be difficult. 3D modeling, animating, using Unreal Engine. What I didn't expect was how tricky it would be to make the levels feel right. A while ago I was in New Zealand, and at the airport the security pulled me aside and asked me to open my backpack. From my backpack they asked me to take out the Steam Deck. And then I open it and he goes, "Oh, is this the OLED? What are you playing?" I was playing Jump King at the moment, and he was something like, "Oh, that's such a great game, really difficult though." And first of all, how cool is that? You're on the other side of the world and you have a random encounter with somebody that plays the same indie game as you do. But it also made me think about how important the game feel is. Jump King looks good and sounds good, but I think what ultimately made it so memorable was the gameplay and the level design. And that's what I'm also trying to get right with my game. For anyone new here, the chicken game is similar to other rage games where you keep climbing higher by landing precise jumps. If you miss a jump, you lose progress and have to work your way back up. In my game, the jump has two parameters: the power, depending on how long you hold the mouse click, and the angle. And the combination of those create a ton of possible jump arcs. It's a very simple idea, but for my first game I thought that's exactly what I need. To build the levels, I started with some gray box placeholders, moved them around, resized them, made sure they were within reach. You know, just basic stuff. But then I realized this isn't enough. Just because a jump feels good doesn't mean that the platform works with the rest of the level. So for example, let's say I'm working in this area and I'm trying to place a platform here, move it around, resize it, put a wall in front of it. Very nice. It's challenging, it makes you smash the chicken's head into the wall. Pretty nice. But depending on what's below, missing the jump could result in a fall that's way too punishing. Or maybe not punishing enough. And likewise, whatever comes above needs to work with this too. If the chicken falls, this isn't empty space anymore. So I came to the conclusion that in order to build a level, I need to answer 3 questions. Behold the Book of Truth. And the book says, quite clearly, that as the player gets familiar with the game, the difficulty must rise accordingly. Should the challenge be too demanding, the player gets frustrated. Should it be too forgiving, the player gets bored. The game should not be too easy nor too hard, the book says. So, how do you tell if something is difficult or not? By the time I was working on this, I had already pretty much mastered the game, so almost any jump felt simple to me. Sure, playtesters can help, but for that you need to have some levels built before they can try it. And even if I could say for sure that jump A is harder than jump B, the challenge is figuring out the overall difficulty for entire sections or levels. So I came up with a system where for each jump I would track a couple of things. I would track the risk of failure, as in if you miss a jump, how many platforms do you have to climb back? I'd also track the angle and power of each jump in order to land correctly. So for example, this would be short jump up, long jump up, medium jump forward, and so on. And this is so that the player uses the full range of possible arcs, which makes the game more fun and also more challenging. And finally, I'd also track a very rough difficulty rating for each platform, and putting it all together, it gave me a much better overview of the level and helped me spot areas that weren't balanced well and more generally designed with the whole level in mind instead of just thinking of one platform. Getting the difficulty right is one way to keep things interesting, but I also thought of adding some extra challenges here and there, so that even if you fully figure out the mechanics of the game, there's still another layer of challenge to it. I don't want to get too much into that yet and reveal everything, but a simple example is moving walkways. It's basically a way to break away from the static platforms, switch up the rhythm, and keep the players engaged. Another thing that helps is making the different sections of the game feel clearly distinct. Imagine you're jumping around a cityscape and then out of nowhere you end up in a forest. This not only gives you a sense of progression, but also makes you curious about what the level could bring and gives you a reason to keep going. Once I figured how big a platform should be and where it should go, I realized there was another constraint. What is the gray box actually going to become? What am I replacing it with in the final game? In some games, the platforms are just floating mid-air, but this is a 3D game and I want the platforms to be replaced by objects that will make sense in the environment. I can't emphasize enough how much harder this made the gray boxing. Maybe in the next video I'll talk a bit about the 3D modeling process, but basically I started with a rough idea of what each level would be, and whenever I placed boxes in a level, I kept that setting in mind and thought about what actual objects could belong there. I don't know how professionals do this or if there's a better approach to it. For me, it was way harder than expected. It took a very long time and I really had to squeeze my brain in order to make it work. It was super tiring. Are you feeling exhausted? Have you consumed enough energy drinks to scare your cardiologist and still nothing? Are you so desperate that you're considering extreme measures like sleeping? Stop! Try Chicken Blue. Chicken Blue is the original drink of the champions, packed with 50% more active ingredients than any other energy drink on the market. It's all natural, with pulp and blue.
My head's in the spotlight. Your eyes don't lie. You gotta contain yourself. Heart's beating real loud now. Out of your body, so let it all go tonight. Alright.
So I finished grayboxing all the levels and I'm quite happy with the result. I made the later parts of the game hard enough that even I would find them a bit challenging, and I shared a small section of the game with some friends. That was pretty scary. I don't know why. I'm pretty open to feedback, but I guess there's just something about showing your work to other people. I was also afraid that they wouldn't see past the unfinished environment or the bugs I had here and there. But honestly, it went pretty well and I got a lot of useful feedback. For instance, someone said it takes too long to fully charge a jump, and I'd already been thinking about that for a while, so I just fixed it on the spot. I think it makes the game a little bit harder since the timing window gets tighter, but it also improves the flow. A few people also said the controls didn't feel intuitive, which is fair. After all, you're jumping with the mouse, which isn't very common, but I'll make sure to add clear instructions, maybe directly on the menu screen, so you can see it every time you open or pause the game. Strictly talking about the level design, I was happy to see that the players got the idea and they felt the tension in the jumps. They struggled more and more as they progressed, sometimes failing exactly how and where I thought they would.
We stand on the edge, we stand on the edge, we stand on the edge, and we go that far. Oh my God, it was too much.
However, some people seem to struggle a bit too much with the first jumps, so maybe I'll make the beginning just a bit easier. Players also surprised me in a few places. Kat, for instance, realized she can just smack the chicken off the ceiling to cheat some jumps. Luckily, this is not a deal breaker, it doesn't magically carry you through the level, but I didn't see it coming. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the result, and I think that the playtesting validates the core game loop.
Then we're gonna